Okay, this is great. The modern conservative is engaged in one man's oldest exercise in moral philosophy. That is, the search for a superior moral justification for selfishness. If you watch Fox News, that's exactly all about they are. In the United States, that's all about they care about. Selfishness. And they're trying to make this a moral philosophy. But in fact, when you look at it, it just can't do. You can't. You can't. Okay. Now,
we're the only...
Oh, okay. I'm going to introduce you to her. Her name is Janine Benes. She wrote the book Biomimicry. Because what is biomimicry? Is the ability to observe nature and try to understand how nature works. I would show you a picture of a tree. And for a lot of people, a tree is a thing. You know, it's a tree, it's a thing, yeah, fine. But if you do go deeper, you could ask yourself, what is the interdependence of all the system of the tree? The leaf, the twigs, the branch, and the roots. And the roots are as big as the tree is, but in the ground. What's the cooperative effort that it takes? How does that tree work? How does your company work? How does the tree work? What is the cooperation that exists there? Do you have it in your company? How did that nature achieve that? How did you achieve that? Or how would you achieve that? Nature has all the solutions of any problems that human being could have. Why? It's been in existence for 400 million years, and it's still working, and it's very resilient. So, I'm going to introduce you to Janine Benes, and she's going to tell you a bit about biomimicry and what it is.
We're the only species that digs up the Earth's crust and then turns it into toxic waste. How are other organisms meeting their needs? And has anyone ever thought of asking them for advice? In a book I wrote called Biomimicry, I met people who are doing just that. Biomimicry is the process of learning from and then emulating life's genius. After 3.8 billion years, life knows what works and what lasts here on Earth. Mimicking these designs and strategies, their recipes, could change the way we grow food, harness solar energy, run our businesses, even the way we make materials. There is a hunger for us to be reconnected and for us to remember how to ask nature for help. My sense is that as biological beings, if we were to admit to ourselves that on this earth we have a certain set of opportunities and a certain set of limits, that the earth is abundant and resilient, but that she is not endlessly abundant and she is not endlessly resilient. And instead of bemoaning that fact and trying to push through those limits or overshoot what's given to us, that we learn to do what the other creatures have done, which is to dance within them and to become really, really creative about that. What biomimicry allows us to do is to fit in here, to come home.
I've spent 3 days per year for 3-4 years with Janine Benes on biomimicry. We would go on a Shelburne farm, a sustainable farm in Vermont, and I would invite customers to meet with her. And at one point, I'm walking there, and she's saying, "Claude, look at those trees. Are they in competition with each other?" And I said, "Yeah, you know, living in the United States, yeah. Competition is the way to go." And she says, "You got it all wrong, Claude. There's more cooperations between the species of trees there than competition." And she's explaining to me how all the leaves, and specifically the roots, how they work together, and they share the nutrition of the earth. All nutrition is shared among all trees. So there's not one that grabs everything. And that the tall trees are designed in a way to allow the sun to reach the smaller trees, species of trees. And then she asked me, she says, why do you think the leaf of an oak is designed the way it's designed? Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty, maybe. And she says, no. Everything in nature, now watch this, everything in nature is designed for a purpose. All texture in nature is for a purpose. And all shapes, patterns are for a purpose. We just don't know it. But if we were to see it, so she said to me, walk in nature, me and a bunch of others, walk in nature and look with the eyes of a 5-year-old that doesn't have all the baggages that we all have. 5-year-old, walk in nature. Wow, like, that's what a kid does. A little girl or a little boy, 5-year-old, Marco Avares has a 2-year-old kid, cute, blonde and great, and he was at my place. He was watching everything. We brought him on the lake, and he was watching. His eyes was that big, trying to understand. What is this? How does that all work? So we changed the entire manufacturing operation at Interface based on that. All stations were all in competition for productivity. We've changed everything. We've made it a cooperative structure as opposed to a competitive structure. We were on the belief that competitions would make people work, like competing with the other, and we realized that they were cheating, or they were doing things that would save themselves, but then down the road, 3 stations further, it would create problems. When we change everything and make it cooperative, we've changed the life of all these people. They work with not that pressure of performing, but performing for the good of all of us, as opposed to just that department. Make a huge difference. All right. Now, we design and we sell, we make carpet tile. It's not a fancy thing, it's just carpet tile. It's not like a spaceship or something, not technology, and we were designing carpet tile in a very specific way. Each tile had to be religiously the same as the other tile. All the tiles needed to be the same to have a good look. Seamless look. Solid colors. Very often our customer architects wanted to have solid color. Don't you have a beige? So, and she sent us into nature and says, try to find a solid color. Or go in nature and come back and tell me what you saw. And we said, well, we didn't see solid colors, for one. And we realized that if there was a rock there, we moved the rock over there, from there, and we put it over there, it didn't change the aesthetics of the trail. Nothing is the same. But then it's aesthetically very pleasant. So we have enormous information mechanical system, ISO, Sigma. How does nature create things? It's through randomness. And we analyzed it and saw that studying variations in form, in color, and in texture, then we saw the light and we said we could design with a biomimicry concept. And we changed from making everything the same to everything not the same. So each tile had to be designed, produced differently from a color perspective, a texture perspective, and a pattern perspective. What's the benefit? Benefit is, if there's a problem on one tile, 3 years down the road, you take the tile up, you take a new one down, your eyes are not going to pick up the difference between the new one and the old one because they're not the same. If they were all be the same, your eyes would pick up the difference between the new one and the old one. But because they're not the same, and we got rid of dye lots. So for you architects, you know what a dye lot is. If you buy 500 yards of a fabric and you want another 100 yards, it has to be from the same dye lot or else it won't match. Well, with that system, it doesn't care because it's all different. 50 over 52% of everything we sell today in design is based on biomimicry design. We have created a concept that the whole industry tried to copy us. We had a perception of being the leader in innovation. We've made more money because of it. We got market share and mind share from architect because of it. Okay. Yeah. Expend great effort to make every unit the same. Industrial system is fighting against nature. What if all unit was different? So these are the tiles. Do I have an installation? I don't know. But this is quite 9 tiles that came from 6 different dialogues and 2 manufacturing plants. And that's how it looks. Okay. So you see what I'm saying? We created something. Why? Because we had it here. We have a collective of 5,000 people that are zooming in on the same thing, using everybody's strengths. And we said, why don't we hire a biologist? For a textile company coming from Georgia to hire a biologist, some people thought we were on drugs or something, and good drugs. So, but we said, no, we're going to go through that experience because we're going to learn something, and we learned something that made us so different than the other companies, and we've made a lot of money because of it. Now, what's the color of that bird? I'm checking your assumption here. Okay, some people would think that it's kind of bluish. Those who think that it's kind of blue, raise your hand. Don't be afraid. Okay, now those who are thinking that yellow-green, raise your hand. Okay, if I had a big button here, I would go, wrong answer, both of you. Here's the color of that bird. This is the true color of that bird. So why do you see color? No, it's a reflection of light. So we analyzed that and says, oh, reflection of light. Blue does not exist as a pigment in nature. It only exists through reflection of light. So we said, okay, all the colors that we see, it changed. And we looked at also a little creature that's changed colors depending on the environment they are in. So we said, okay, we're going to create a yarn that changes with the light. So the carpet at 8 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock and 11 and 12 and 1 o'clock is different. So as the day goes by, the carpet is changing colors because the daylight that goes around changed the color of the carpet. We thought it was so good. We're still working on it. But some designers have said, well, I have a problem with your new technology. Which color am I going to pick to design? The color at 8 o'clock in the morning or at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? And we said, don't worry about it, it's a detail. Don't worry about that. Small detail. So, now here's an architect that actually saw biomimicry and acted on it and saw something that has always been there, but he was the only one to see it. His field of attention was exactly focused on sustainability. He had a contract in Zimbabwe, Africa. And he went to see, he says, who lives here? And he wasn't thinking about people. He said, who are the species that live here and how do they live here? Because during the day, it's 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and during the night, it's somewhere around 45. Which is in Celsius, it'd be like 15 and 34, right? So he went to the termites, and he realized the termites, if it has to be inside the termite mount, it has to be 75 degrees all the time. If it varies 5 degrees up or down, they die. Quite an incentive to stay at 75. So how do you stay at 75 when you have a mount like this and outside it's 104 degrees and during at night it's 45? That's the question. So he dissected and he realized that the flow of air gets on the side of the mount and it's dragged into the earth, it's cooled, and then it evacuates by the top. Okay. He created a building, 13th floor, without air conditioning, without heating system, 104 degree outside, 45 at night, and the constant temperature of that building is between 72 and 78 degrees. Anytime. All the chimneys are here, and the air intakes are on the side here. It's an architect that asked himself the question, who lives there? Look at your body. Have you seen a straight line in your body? There is no straight line in your body. Have you seen a tree that is square? Why do you think that trees are round? There's a purpose. There's a reason. Why are we building square buildings? 90 degrees. There is no such thing as 90 degree in nature. And there is no straight line in nature either. So why are we doing this? Because our engineer thought that, well, I tell you what, they have a lot to learn. And I was talking to a bunch of engineers, and I asked them, I said, you know what, if I were you, I'd go take a course in biology and try to apply science of engineering with the new concept of nature and try to emulate this. So, I want to show you, it's too long. This guy, he was walking and he looked at the lotus flower and he was asking himself the question, why is a lotus flower always clean? There's never dust on it, on anything. It cleans all the time. Why? And he realized that the lotus flower, the leaves of the lotus flower, cleans itself through the rain. So he said, okay, so how is it made? So he looked at a microscopic picture of the leaf. And everybody would say that if it's flat, it's easier to clean. But it's the opposite. Opposite. So, here's what he did. He created a substance that he applies to the outside of the building, and the water cleans it. All the stain from the environment doesn't stick to it. Based on that, observing lotus flowers. Velcro. Velcro is the same thing. Guy was walking, a Swedish guy, walking in the bushes. The stuff was sticking to his pants. Took it out. He says, how is it that it sticks so well? Took a microscope, looked at it, and said, oh my God, I got something here. And he created Velcro. You know what they're working on today? Well, when you if you're in nature and you take these little things and you pull them out, you don't hear any noise. But when you hear Velcro, you're in a room like this, you want to get to your bag or something. God forbid that this thing closes again, you'll have to open it again. So now they're working on how is it that the Velcro in nature doesn't make any sound and ours, artificially made, makes sound. The guy that's going to find a Velcro that doesn't make sound will be rich. It's true. Okay, so this is a bit of, now, what could you do? You're architects, for most of you, what could you do? Here's what you could do. Power of one is the power to ask one question. People go to you and ask you, could you spec my product? Look how pretty it is and how good it is. And this, and by the way, have you heard my environmental pitch? Let me give it to you. Great story. All right. What I'm saying to you is through life cycle assessment, ask your suppliers of goods and services to provide you a life cycle assessment certified by a third party. You have in Mexico a woman who's a PhD in life cycle assessment. And if I could, next year, I'd like to hire her. She speaks Spanish much better than me. But I'd like to invite her and create a class only to teach people what is a life cycle assessment, what does it do, how can I use it, and how could I compare products. A life cycle assessment will look at those things. So we're going to look at it from a climate change perspective. Anything and everything that is produced, we're going to look at it from a climate change. How much energy embodied? You know when I was telling you about the towel, the truck, that takes a lot of energy to build rather than, okay, The embodied energy, that's what it means. Systemic thinning of the atmosphere. Does it contribute to thinning the atmosphere? Acid rain, health of freshwater system and supply, human health, effect from air, land, and water, ecotoxicity. So all of this will be analyzed. But here's what it is. They're going to take all the chemistry that takes to make the raw material. Then they're going to take a little raw material itself, because the sum of all these things, what's the impact? And then processes, and then the product, and then the life of the product, and the end life of the product. They're going to create a life cycle assessment.
What's the name of the lady?
Les consigo el apellido, no tengo ahorita. Se llama Nidia.
Gracias.
Keep talking. All right. You have another name? So, people will be able to give you a life cycle assessment certified by a third party. What does it take? To make a life cycle assessment, you have to have a protocol. The protocol that is recognized worldwide is ISO 14040. Okay? 40 to 45. And this gives you a protocol. Then you have to look at a database. Which database did you use? We use GABI4, a certified database. Then we make this analysis. Then we submit it to a third party. And then they give us a life cycle assessment. We use it not for marketing reason. We use it to see where we could improve on our products. So if we see where the impacts are, we could reduce our impact by changing a few things and just reduce. That's our goal. That's why we have a life cycle assessment. But we would like to have all the people that are in procurement, all the people that are specifying product, to ask their suppliers to give them a life cycle assessment. If you ask them now, they won't have it. But you could say to them, in the next 5 years, those who will not have a life cycle assessment for their product, so that our firm could compare your environmental impact on that product against another similar product, we won't spec you. Simple as this. You will change the world quickly. Because these industrialists, me first, we want your money. You want the product, we want the money. So if you're asking me to do something, I'll do it. Because I want to do business. So you ask those people, and now you're going to eclipse all of the spinning stories that you hear from all kinds of people about environmental stories, how green they are. This product is recyclable. Okay. It's recyclable? Okay. Do you recycle it? Oh, no. It's recyclable, but we're not recycling it yet. Well, what do you talk to me about? It's a spin. You work for George Bush or something, or what? The Republicans? You're spinning everything. So, and this is what it looks like. This is one example. We look at nylon 6s versus PVC. This is nylon 6/6. This is the environmental impact on these fronts for PVC. These graphs are simple, easy to compare. That's what we want. We did the same thing with tactile. You could purchase a green product from a brown company, or you could purchase a green product from a green company. Ask about the company that you're dealing with. Are they truly green or just painting themselves green? Thin coat. I look green. Ray Anderson would have said this. I would say this. If I'm the only one who dreams, it will only be a dream. But if we all dream of the same thing, it's the beginning of a new reality. Believe me, it's true. If you do this in your business, you're dreaming and you're bringing everybody into your dream of being sustainable. It's the change of a new reality within your company and within everything that you're going to do collectively. Reinventing yourself is scary work, but committing to doing the right thing by making an effort to change the way we think for yourself, for your family, and your planet is powerfully liberating. You feel so much better about yourself you don't know how. Liberate yourself. The day that we collectively are going to say to ourselves that we are not going to purchase stuff to define the essence of who we are. If you're buying a Corvette and you're letting the Corvette or the BMW to define the essence of who you are in front of everybody else, if we keep that mentality, we'll never get anywhere. And it's the same for a pair of shoes. I took a car for the guys, but I'll take the shoes for the woman. But it's true. And do you think that the guys that are buying the cars are trying to buy the car to seduce a woman? Not at all. It's to upset the other guys. I got the car. Do you think, women, do you think that when you're buying a fancy pair of shoes that the guys care? They don't. So why do you buy those shoes? It's for the other woman. Have you seen it? And I have the purse to match it too. If we continue to have this cycle of thinking to buy stuff to project the essence of who we are, we're going to miss the boat. Instead, if we could all agree that I could have more relationship, if you let me see who you are truly, not through stuff, but through who you are, by conversing with you, it'll be a different world, I'll tell you. So, this I'm going to change. This is the last thing. I'm going to finish this with a video. Why are we here? That's a deep question. Why are we here? 1 minute and 40 seconds.
It is perhaps the most important question we have ever asked. And possibly the most difficult to answer. Trees, as we know, produce oxygen. Birds and insects pollinate the plants that feed us. We know that some animals need plants to survive, and some animals need animals. But why are we here? Giant whales couldn't survive without tiny plankton. Giant redwoods couldn't survive without insects. But could life on this planet survive without us? What is our purpose? Why are we here? Maybe it's because of all the species that share this world, we're the only one with the power to protect the entire planet. The only one with the power to protect every species on Earth, including ourselves. Every species is here for a purpose, and each of us has a part to play.
Okay, now is the time of truth. Here's what it is. Every time I do this, I ask people, do you have any questions? And like it takes about 2 minutes, and then there'll be a brave person that'll raise his hand like this and question. After one asks a question, after that it rolls. But it always takes a brave individual to ask the first question. So, we're only here. Did you see the sign in front of the door? It says Vegas. Anything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So anything that happens here stays in here. So don't be afraid. There's no stupid question. There's nothing. It's just, I'm just sharing with you. I'm not telling you anything. I'm just sharing with you what I know and my experience working for a company and turning a company green from a human perspective more than a mechanical perspective. So, any questions about what we've talked about? Or maybe something that we haven't talked about? Is this a question, or are you just lining up the thing? Question.
I have to confess, this is the third time I ask the same question to different speakers.
Yes.
It always gets the house rolling. So, I'm helping you out here.
Okay, good.
So, how optimistic or pessimistic are you, personally, you, not the company, about what's going to happen to the planet in the next 10 years?
Okay. My personality is that if I knew that in a month it'll be over at Planet 3 tomorrow. Because I'm an optimistic individual. And I believe that we have now an organic growth. The 100 millions of people that are acting up, this is organically growing. And it's going to make a difference. Now, will it be without pain? No. Do I really think that Mother Nature is going to act on human species because we're overpopulated and that we've massacred a lot of stuff? I think so. But is it the end of human species? No. But we're going to go through pain? Yes. How long? It will start now. But as we go, it'll be increasing. But there's ways that we will adapt. We're very adaptive. And we will apply all of what we know to try to find solutions quickly. May not be quick enough for everybody, but it'll be quick. Because that's how we react. I saw somebody raising it. Yes?
How do you measure absolute emissions in your company, and how accurate are they?
Very accurate. Because we look at it only from a perspective of 1 square yard produced. Okay? And we have ways to measure. Like for instance, at first we called it mass balance. Here's what it is, mass balance. You take your energy that you consume in your plant. You take your raw material, right? And assume that this is 100%. You go through your process. At the end, you have a finished product, and this is only 60%. Something went wrong. So you have 40% that went, in nature, there's only 3 ways of waste. Emission, solid waste, or liquid. And it's easy to calculate. It doesn't take a science. An engineer could do it very easily if he has access to all your process and all your chemicals and the heat that you apply. The heat that you apply and the transformation of the raw material. If you have a monomer and you're transforming this into a polymer, there'll be a percentage that will link, a percentage that will emit. It's all pretty easy to calculate exactly what that is. So we have an exact calculation of emission that we have. And it's audited. It has to be audited.
Do you use a company to report that you have formal reporting initiative?
We report. We've been reporting every quarter, every year on everything that we do. And it's part of our way of life. At Interface, even if you come in with a brilliant way of doing things, if it cannot be audited, it doesn't exist. We have a culture of auditing everything because we said to ourselves that that would be the only way for us to measure ourselves and measure our growth or measure our backing up on our claim to sustain our mission to sustainability in 2020. So it's rigorous and it's audited by a third. Has to be.
I was quite surprised that the emissions reduction would be achieved. I was wondering, did we achieve that through just redesigning the process, or did you also use renewables and other sources of energy?
Well, renewable energy is not a factor in this. It's because you could emit emissions with renewable energy and you still have that problem. For us, and reduction of energy was 68%. Here's how we did. We looked at the raw material we were using and we said, all right, these raw materials we don't want anymore because they have a level of toxicity. So either we eliminate them, replace them, or reduce enormously the use of it. And with the years, we've eliminated them, all of them. Okay. When we did that, we realized that the product that we used to replace it required less energy to cure. And we realized that with it, we didn't have to have as much mass. So the backing was 96 ounce, and we're down to 82. The difference between the 82 and the 96 is pretty considerable. It's considerable in terms of weight, but it's also in material, it's also in emission, it's also in energy. So when you calculate everything, and our calculation is very basic accounting, because in order for us to be real, we have to transform everything that we had into dollars. 1 BTU is worth X amount of dollars. So, and it's always per unit. so that if our company was growing, making more unit, but it's always back to the unit. So even though the company expanded a lot in the last 14 years, we've reduced our impact enormously because we calculate everything based on units. So that's how we did it. And we give those. If I'm part of a board in Brazil, and they wanted to see all our calculation, we posted it on their website. All our measurement system is posted on their website. So anybody that wants to use that system could use the system. So we share everything that we've done and how we've done it. Any other question?
Yes. What are your price policies for these products?
Price policy for our product.
Considering a simple model that I've noticed in the TV we perform every day, a model that is, in the first place, is it cheaper? In the second place, do I have some more economical benefits by using it? And only in the first place, is it ecologically responsible for the environment?
No.
What are the
Okay.
price policies?
Okay. Price policy is one thing, and and if I don't answer that specific question of price, but here's how we looked at it. Replacement of any products could not be at the detriment of the performance of the product. If it was a detriment to the performance of the product, we would not use it. Period. The product for us has a life cycle of about 15 years. We know that people could use that product for 20 years. 15 years is really within the range of pretty much everybody. Condition is to maintain it. Okay. The price of the product went down compared to what we used. And prior to 1994, we were selling products, selling products, probably around $45 a square yard. Today, we're selling at about $23 a square yard. So the product, why? Because we don't use as much plastic. The nylon, we used to produce carpet, like 32 ounce of fiber on the face. And then we came up with 34 ounce. This has got to be better. To realize that it was not better, it was worse. We reduced the ounce weight to 18 ounce. Cut the cost enormously of the product. But the performance of the product was better than the 34 ounce. So cost and selling price was an issue. And the way that to finance our operation was not in additional the cost, it was on the saving. Because all of the things we looked at, we thought at first we had a saving of $70 million. At the end, we're 336. So, and the savings was reinvested to reinvent ourselves. So the corporation, the board of directors, at first didn't see it. Only afterwards we showed them what we were doing, but we had the ability to show them that it was profitable. And then they got on board. And they said, okay, now we see what you're doing, we're okay. And then it was waste, and then we brought everything else. But we've made it such part of who we are that no one could ask us not to do what we're doing. From a board perspective of investors, everybody knows who we are and what we stand for. So price was an issue, price of investment, ROI. But now we're investing $12 million on a new technology. Our backing, good example of price, our backing, let's say that the backing is worth $5. Now we're using post-consumer recycled product 100%, not 10, 100. At first it was costing us $2.50 more to produce it. Today it's at par. But when we look at it from an environmental perspective, we know that we're far ahead of anybody. Because we're using renewable energy to recycle post-consumer products and to make another product with it. So the more that the price of petrol goes up, the more that we'll be profitable. And we're going to share this. So if we have to bid aggressively against somebody, you see that if we bid against somebody that's cheap in price, we could be cheap in price too, because we have all that savings and we could win. So, but because we have to be competitive. I mean, we have to bid on any project. So price was a big issue. Question? Yes?
Did you have to re-educate
Yes.
Way of the carpet.
Yes.
Was also
Oh no, that they got. It was when we first talked about sustainability in 1994, people would say, hey, yeah. Give me a price, give me the product, color, and that thing there, I don't hug trees on weekends, do you? And now I'm saying, I'm proud to say my name is Claude Ouimet, and I hug trees on weekends. You should try it, it's fun. It's like AA, you know. Like. Other questions? Yes?
I was wondering, there's a phrase where it says do something, anything.
Yes.
Do you have like a wonderful list of anything that we could be inspired by?
There's a lot of books that, it depends of what you're looking for inspiration. If you're looking for an inspirations to act, you just have to look at the news and just look at your kids or your people that are surrounding you, people that you really care for, and or even other species, and you care for them, and therefore you will be inspired. But a list of things, me, it was just a video clip. Ray Anderson, it was reading a book. Another one is, it could be all different things, but all you need is a spark, a little spark at the right place, and then boom, it happens. And the thing is this: once you have it, you cannot lose it. I've never seen an environmentalist that went bad. You know, went back. I've never seen it. Why? Because it touches people to a profound place.
Have you seen any greenwashing tactics within the carpet industry? And
Do you have an hour? Does that answer your question? Enormously. Yes, enormously. I could give you some.
About a year and a half ago or so, we met.
Yes.
And you spoke about your operations in Latin America.
Yes.
Starting not in Mexico, but in Uruguay.
True.
Because you were going to bring wool.
Ah.
Would you be able to talk to me a little about
Sure. Okay, two different things. We will operate in October, the plant in Uruguay. It's building up and it's good. What we wanted to do, I don't know that we'll be able to do it because the technology that we were using was not owned by us. It was owned by somebody in Argentina. What we wanted to do, and what we're doing it in different countries, and we may decide to do it differently. But in India, what we did, we asked people to design, based on anything they could find, a tile. And then what they created was a tile made out of banana leaves. Square. It's a tile. You could walk on it. What we want for Latin America was to go to see, especially in Guatemala and places like this where they have a culture of textile and design. Each city or town had a specific design. And we wanted to look at them and create sort of like a co-op of design. Take that design, try to make a rug out of carpet tile from that design, and then sell it to corporation and the profit would go back to those village or co-op. We still want to do it. We have to sign an agreement, and the only way that we could do it is the wool. Wool, in a way, is biodegradable, but it needs to be, the dye needs to be natural, or else there's a problem, and you cannot recycle wool. Nylon or any plastic polymer, you could reduce it and re-extract it, you know, by just melting it and re-extracting it. But wool, once it's cut, it's that high, you know, that long. You can't do anything with that long. You can't make a wire, a fiber with it. So it's very hard. We haven't found any way to recycle yarn. We could wool. We could reuse, probably find a way of reusing it from another application, but not in carpet. But we still, if this is not what we're going to do, we just created 3 weeks ago. We were in Brazil. We created the Ray Anderson Interface Floor Institute for Sustainability, social sustainability and environmental sustainability. And what we want to do, it's not so much giving a bunch of money, it's to imply ourselves in teaching people, bringing people, giving time in schools, in all kinds of different things. I do these things. I run the business in Canada and Latin America. I travel a lot and I run these two businesses and they're growing very well. As a side business, I do this, but I don't charge to do it. I just do it for the love of it. And it's just to meet people, and I just want to share what I know, because I think that I'm helping the process. So that to me is social sustainability. And most people at Interface don't charge anything. But we spend a lot of money. I fly and and that's just our way. But we would like to have something more specific. And in Mexico we'll have something. We have something in Brazil. And we have something in Canada and the United States and India and everywhere where we are. So, but I'm hoping that this project will take place. But the mill now is just setting up. We're going to be running in October. So that's a good news. That's it? Think. Okay, LaGrange, Georgia. A southern company.
How can you know it's a real green company for the paint that you said? And
Okay.
do you think the future of the buildings is not only the shape, organic shape and texture shape, also the chemistry of the material?
Yes. I think the shape will change. We're gonna go to a round shape. We're going to incorporate green in most of the buildings and we're going to incorporate social interaction in the building, and not just the building, but villages, complexes. How to detect greenwash? Ask the question. And the first questions that you should ask is, all of what you're telling me, has it been audited by a third? And who is the third? There is a registrations called cradle to cradle certification for product. So the question is, okay, I understand cradle to cradle, but what is the science in cradle to cradle? You will not find anywhere what's in that black box. It says certified cradle to cradle, but you don't know what it means, and you don't know what science they apply. No, nothing. Life cycle assessment is the only, but it doesn't touch social sustainability, only touch environmental sustainability, LCA. We'll have a new one now for social very soon, 2600 ISO. But cradle to cradle is not verifiable. LCA, all the big universities around the world have a chair on life cycle assessment. They're constantly perfecting the database that we use, the protocol that we use, and they're always making it better for two reasons: to reduce the impact and give better information to those who are going to use these products, and being able to compare. That to me is the only way that we're going to move forward. I saw a poster of a company, big poster. It was a forest, beautiful thing. 3/4 of the poster was the forest, and 1/4 was a roof of a company with a little stack. And they said that they were offsetting their emission because they own a lot of forest. And at first, you know, for some people who are just say, yeah, that makes sense. They own a lot of forest, and the forest, you know, la la la, and yeah. But then you say, hold on a second, the forest always been there. And so how does that work? You don't count if you're using something that already existed. You have to do better. And what happens is there's a forest fire. Or what happens if there's a disease in that forest? Or what happens if you decide to sell the forest? Where's the credit going to go? How are you going to offset? What is it going to happen to the product that I purchased from you? You see what I'm saying? Ask questions. I have a book for you. Daniel Quinn, Right Sideways. Daniel Quinn is the guy that wrote the book Ishmael. Do you know about Ishmael book? No? No. You know? Ishmael, Daniel Quinn. Ishmael was the book of all environmentalists that when we started was all like, wow, Ishmael. Ishmael, the story, is a gorilla. And the gorilla has the ability to talk to one person. And that person has the ability to talk back to the gorilla. And the gorilla is telling the man what human being used to be and how we changed. And he says, you change. The gorilla says to the man, you know when you change? It's when you plant the first fence. You've put a fence around a lot of land and you said, this is mine. And you didn't allow any other species to come into that land. You're the only one that did that in nature. A lion could defend his territory, but not against all creatures or all species. But we did it, and we're still doing it, by the way. And you're the only one that has the framework of owning air, water, and land. You know, like, okay. So that is the conversations between the gorilla, Ishmael, and the man. And today, people read the book, then they have dinners, great party of 10. They all read the book, and they have, on the center of the table, they have issues. It could be the news of yesterday, or it could be a problem that you have in your company. All right? They read it, and everybody that's around the table, they are the sons and the daughter of Ishmael. And from that perspective, how would you resolve the problem? Not from who you are as an architect, but from the daughter of Ishmael or the son of Ishmael. It forces you to get out of your skin and only talk from a nature perspective. It's awesome. Now this guy wrote another book, this one, and he talks to a lady about how he got to Ishmael, but it's also, he's forcing her to think differently. And he says you have to ask yourself, what is the intent of the question? What is the intent of the answer? I like that book a lot. It's an easy read, really, because it's a conversation between two people. But I love it. So Daniel Quinn, if they give you lined paper, write sideways. Force your brain to think. Another exercise, if you want to practice this, go at night when the sky is clear that you could see the star. All right? Bring a blanket, a couple of friends, lay down, look at the sky, look at the stars, and look at it from the perspective that you're looking down on the stars, that you're not looking up. What makes you think that you're looking up? The globe is round, and it's turning. So you could be down, looking down. Have you thought about it? No, because we think that way, we're looking up at the star. Those are all little exercises that gets you to train your mind in thinking differently. Just a trick. This one? Daniel Quinn, Quinn, write sideways. So it's a blue pad, and he's writing sideways just to train himself. Fascinating. It's a good book. This book here, Presence. I invite you to read this. In this, there's 4 authors that wrote that book. One, Otto Scharmer, and he has a theory. It's called the theory U. And the U is a process of thinking. And when I told you about, when I said you have to be in suspension, the whole theory is about open mind, open heart, open will. And it teaches you and it explains to you how the whole concept works. And Peter Senge talks about the whole, the theory of the whole. Fascinating. And I'm a believer, I'm a big believer. And now it changed entirely how I look at the world and how I look at systems. Very interesting book. It's called Presence. The subtitle is An Exploration of Profound Change in People, Organization, and Society. And by Peter Senge. Senge, it's spelled S-E-N-G-E. Otto Scharmer, S-C-H-A-R-M-E-R. Joseph Jawowski, Beresu Flower. Best way is I'm going to leave the book in front here, and you could just look at the number here, the SBN number. Just take the number, and you'll be able to get it. Biomimicry, the Janine Benes. And I normally carry her book. I always have it with me. I don't have it tonight. This is another interesting book that is Capra. I don't know if you know him. Capra. It's called The Web of Life. Not necessarily easy to read, but extremely informative on how science of understanding system has been an evolution of thinking, and it's pretty powerful. I read a lot of different books because I'm always interested. Capra, The Web of Life. Like I said, not an easy read, but an interesting read. And so that's it. Thank you so much. You are a bunch of great people because you're engaged, and I love it. Thank you. Thank you.